The intent of the 2005 National Electrical Code change to Section 250.50 was to clarify that all grounding electrodes that are present on the premises must be made part of the grounding electrode system. This includes reinforcing steel in building footings, even if it is not readily available to the electrician at the time of installation. The exception to 250.50 allows the reinforcing steel to be omitted from the grounding electrode system if it is impractical to do so. However, this exception is not intended to be used as a way to avoid grounding the reinforcing steel in new construction. Formal interpretation 78.4 is still applicable to the 2005 National Electrical Code. However, it should be interpreted in light of the changes to 250.50. In other words, reinforcing steel in building footings must be made part of the grounding electrode system, even if it is not readily available to the electrician at the time of installation. Let's examine a more detailed explanation of the changes to 250.50. The 2002 National Electrical Code stated that if available on the premises, the following electrode shall be used. This language was interpreted to mean that the grounding electrodes listed in 250.52a on through A7 were only required to be used if they were readily available to the electrician at the time of installation. The 2005 National Electrical Code changed the language to all grounding electrodes as described in 250.52a on through A7 that are present on the premises shall be used. This language makes it clear that all of the grounding electrodes listed in 250.52a on through A7 must be used, regardless of whether or not they are readily available to the electrician at the time of installation. The exception to 250.50 allows the reinforcing steel to be omitted from the grounding electrode system if it is impractical to do so. However, this exception is not intended to be used as a weight to avoid grounding the reinforcing steel in new construction. In new construction, the reinforcing steel should be made part of the grounding electrode system in accordance with 250.50. This can be accomplished by bonding the reinforcing steel to the grounding electrode conductor using a listed grounding electrode bonding device. The core of the issue revolves around the distinction between available and present in the context of grounding electrodes. In the 2002 National Electrical Code, the emphasis was on the availability of the grounding electrode to the electrician during installation. If a particular grounding electrode, such as reinforcing steel, was not readily accessible or easily incorporated into the grounding system at the time of installation, it was not necessarily required to be included. However, the 2005 National Electrical Code shifted the focus to the presence of grounding electrodes on the premises. The revised language mandates that all grounding electrodes described in 250.52a on through A7 that are present must be used, regardless of their immediate availability. This change reflects a stronger emphasis on ensuring a comprehensive and effective grounding system by utilizing all existing grounding electrodes. Now, let's consider the implications of this change for reinforcing steel in building footings. Prior to the 2005 National Electrical Code, if the reinforcing steel was already encased in concrete when the electrician arrived on the job site, it might have been argued that it was not readily available and therefore not required to be incorporated into the grounding system. However, the 2005 National Electrical Code makes it clear that if the reinforcing steel is present in a footing, it must be made part of the grounding electrode system, even if it is not easily accessible. The exception to 250.50 provides some flexibility by allowing the reinforcing steel to be omitted if it is impractical to incorporate it into the grounding system. However, it is important to understand that this exception is not intended to be a loophole for avoiding grounding the reinforcing steel in new construction. The primary intent is to address situations where physical constraints or other unforeseen circumstances make it genuinely difficult to connect the reinforcing steel to the grounding system. In new construction, the reinforcing steel should be proactively incorporated into the grounding electrode system during the construction phase. This typically involves bonding the reinforcing steel to the grounding electrode conductor using a listed grounding electrode bonding device. By taking this step, the reinforcing steel becomes an integral part of the grounding system, providing a more robust and reliable path for fault current to flow back to the source. This approach enhances the overall safety and effectiveness of the electrical system. To further clarify the interpretation of the 2005 National Electrical Code changes, it is helpful to consider Formal Interpretation 78.4. This interpretation addresses the question of whether reinforcing steel in a building footing must be made available for grounding. While the interpretation itself states no, it is crucial to understand that this interpretation must be viewed in the context of the 2005 National Electrical Code changes. The intent of the 2005 National Electrical Code is to require the use of all present grounding electrodes, including reinforcing steel, unless it is impractical to do so. Therefore, Formal Interpretation 78.4 should not be interpreted as a blanket exemption for grounding reinforcing steel. Instead, it should be understood as acknowledging that there may be situations where it is genuinely impractical to incorporate the reinforcing steel into the grounding system. However, in new construction, every effort should be made to include the reinforcing steel as part of the grounding electrode system. The requirement to ground reinforcing steel in building footings is based on sound engineering principles. Reinforcing steel, when properly grounded, can provide a low impedance path for fault current to flow back to the source. This helps to ensure that overcurrent protective devices, such as circuit breakers and fuses, will operate quickly and effectively in the event of a ground fault. By providing a reliable path for fault current, grounding reinforcing steel helps to minimize the risk of electrical shock and fire. In addition to enhancing safety, grounding reinforcing steel can also help to improve the performance of the electrical system. Grounding helps to reduce voltage fluctuations and electrical noise, which can interfere with the operation of sensitive electronic equipment. By providing a stable and reliable ground reference, grounding reinforcing steel can contribute to a more efficient and reliable electrical system. Now let's delve into the practical aspects of bonding reinforcing steel to the grounding electrode conductor. The most common method is to use a listed grounding electrode bonding device, which is specifically designed for this purpose. These devices typically consist of a clamp or lug that is attached to the reinforcing steel and a conductor that is connected to the grounding electrode conductor. When selecting a grounding electrode bonding device, it is important to ensure that it is properly sized for the reinforcing steel and the grounding electrode conductor. The device should also be listed by a recognized testing laboratory such as Underwriters Laboratories Incorporated to ensure that it meets applicable safety standards. The grounding electrode conductor should be sized in accordance with National Electrical Code Table 250.66, which specifies the minimum size of the grounding electrode conductor based on the size of the service entrance conductors. It is important to note that the grounding electrode conductor must be continuous and unbroken from the grounding electrode to the service equipment. This means that splices or joints in the grounding electrode conductor are not permitted. When connecting the grounding electrode conductor to the grounding electrode bonding device, it is important to ensure that the connection is mechanically and electrically sound. The connection should be clean and free of corrosion, and it should be tightened to the manufacturer's specified torque. After the connection is made, it should be inspected to ensure that it is secure and that there are no loose strands of wire. In addition to bonding the reinforcing steel to the grounding electrode conductor, it is also important to ensure that the reinforcing steel is properly connected to itself. This can be accomplished by overlapping the reinforcing steel bars and tying them together with tie wire. The tie wire should be made of corrosion-resistant material, such as galvanized steel, and it should be securely fastened to the reinforcing steel bars. The purpose of tying the reinforcing steel together is to ensure that it forms a continuous electrical path. This helps to distribute fault current evenly throughout the reinforcing steel, which can improve the effectiveness of the grounding system. Now let's address some common misconceptions about grounding reinforcing steel. One common misconception is that grounding reinforcing steel is only required in certain types of buildings, such as hospitals or data centers. However, the National Electrical Code requires grounding reinforcing steel in all new construction, regardless of the type of building. Another common misconception is that grounding reinforcing steel is not necessary if the building has a concrete encased electrode, also known as a UFA ground. While a concrete encased electrode can provide a good ground connection, it is not a substitute for grounding reinforcing steel. The National Electrical Code requires both a concrete encased electrode and grounding reinforcing steel in new construction. A further misconception is that grounding reinforcing steel is too expensive or too difficult to implement. However, the cost of grounding reinforcing steel is relatively low, and the process is not particularly difficult. The benefits of grounding reinforcing steel in terms of enhanced safety and improved electrical system performance far outweigh the cost and effort involved. In conclusion, the 2005 National Electrical Code changes to Section 250.50 have clarified the requirements for grounding electrodes, including reinforcing steel in building footings. The intent of the code is to require the use of all present grounding electrodes, unless it is impractical to do so. Grounding reinforcing steel enhances safety, improves electrical system performance, and is a relatively simple and inexpensive process. By understanding and implementing these requirements, electricians and other electrical professionals can help to ensure the safety and reliability of electrical systems in new construction.